Welcome to the Maverick Report, where we bring sports news to you. I'm Jet Nelson.
And I'm Jason Holly. The Maverick Report starts now.
Let's start with a recap of some of sports' biggest matchups from this week. The Yukon Huskies were tested but eventually dominated their Sweet 16 matchup against the 5th seed San Diego State Aztecs. The rematch of the 2023 men's championship game looked very different as the Huskies outscored the Aztecs by 21 points in the second half. Yukon went on to defeat Illinois and now faces Alabama in the Final Four.
In the women's tournament, we started with 64 teams. Now, we're down to 6. After tonight, we will have a set Final Four. Two teams that have already clinched their spots are the number 3 seed NC State Wolfpack after an impressive victory over Texas. The tournament favorite, South Carolina, led by Dawn Staley, clinched after a close win over Oregon State. Tonight, USC takes on UConn, and Iowa plays LSU in a rematch of last year's championship game. Stick around. We will preview that game for you later in the show.
The UTA Lady Mavs were back on the tennis hardtop against Abilene Christian, while the men's team played their final non-conference matchup. The matchup versus the Wildcats was a back-and-forth affair. The duo of Cassie Emperry versus Vergara picked up big doubles wins early in the afternoon, keeping the Mavs close going into the singles. In the singles circuit, the Lady Mavs picked up 3 wins by Serena Reinerstein's straight-set victory. When the dust settled on the match, the Wildcats walked away with a 4-3 victory over the Mavs. Over the past weekend, the Lady Mavs won back-to-back matchups versus Stephen F. Austin and UT Rio Grande Valley for their first conference victory of the season. Now moving over to men's tennis, let's take a look at the final non-conference matchup against Wichita State.
The UTA men's tennis team faced a powerful Wichita State squad for the final non-conference game. UTA tennis was hopeful in the beginning, winning one of 3 double matches but could not tame the Shockers. UTA battled against Wichita with long rallies but lost 5 of 6 single matches in straight sets. UTA almost overcame multiple singles matches with late pushes and great efforts, but Wichita surged late and finished strong. The match was ultimately lost for the Mavericks 4-1. Here is what Pedro Madus had to say about the tough loss.
This is a tough loss because I thought that we have the level to beat these guys, but well, it's time to bounce back in the beginning of the conference season. So I believe in this team, so I think that we can make it.
There's just 3 matchups left for both men and women heading to South Texas for the WAC Conference Tournament.
From the hardtop to the diamond, the Mavs baseball team took on some tough opponents and rivals Stephen F. Austin and Dallas Baptist.
Last week was a busy one for UTA baseball as they swept the series against the SFA Lumberjacks with several great offensive showcases. With the sweep, the Mavericks' record in conference play improved to 6-3 for 4th in the WAC standings. On the following Tuesday, 10th-ranked Dallas Baptist visited UTA and was able to hold on for a 5-3 win over the Mavs, despite a 2 RBI single from freshman Kaiser Harrington in the bottom of the 9th. After the SFA series, head coach Clay Van Hook said that momentum is a big opportunity.
I think we've got to build off this. I thought last week against ACU that was going to be a win we could build off of, but this is a type of weekend that can really set the trajectory of the rest of the year.
This is Jet Nelson from the Maverick Report.
After big conference victories over Stephen F. Austin and Cal Baptist, the Mavs jumped up to 3rd in the WAC conference standings. UTA baseball and softball won their series over the weekends and continue to climb up the WAC conference standings. Baseball moved up to 3rd after winning back-to-back games over Cal Baptist, and softball had their first series sweep over Southern Utah for 5th place. With big games coming up against TCU and Oklahoma before a massive showdown against Grand Canyon, Jet, do you think the men can hold on to a top 4 spot in the WAC?
I think they can, but it's going to be real tough here with a matchup there against UT Rio Grande Valley. That's right before a matchup there against Grand Canyon at the top. So that's going to be 2 3-game series that the Mavericks do need to win if they feel like holding on to that number 3 spot in the conference. And now, Jason, do you think they can take down the Lopes?
I think it comes down to pitching, that if the UT Arlington's pitching can show up and they can come out and dominate a good hitting team like Grand Canyon, anything's possible. Now look at the softball schedule. The Lady Mavs face Grand Canyon and SFA. Do you think that they can hold their spots after both series?
It's definitely going to be tough, as you see Grand Canyon right there at the top with a 9-2 conference record, but they do get to fall back on that series there against Stephen F. Austin there with a 2-7 conference record in the WAC. So I think if they are able to win at least one of the 3-game series there against the Lopes, they can fall back, sweep the doubleheader there against Stephen F. Austin, and still have a solid spot there in number 5 in the conference standings. And now, Jason, we take a final look there of the softball standings. So just what do you think UTA needs to hold down defensively there in the number 5 spot?
I think pitching is going to come to a key, much like the men. The softball team is going to have to come out and pitch. The bright side is, as you mentioned, a fallback. If they do have struggle versus Grand Canyon, they can come out and redeem themselves versus SFA, a team that's having a hard time this year. You always want to take advantage of the teams that you're meant to beat. And as UTA softball continues conference play, the Lady Mavericks face Southern Utah, and Maverick reporter Alan Mencias has the series.
UTA softball secured their first season sweep of the season, going 3-0 against Southern Utah this weekend. It was a dominant pitching performance for the Mavs as Gracie Bumpers pitched a complete 3-hit shutout for the first game, followed by Jessica Adams pitching a complete 5-hit shutout. Then rookie Abby Gutierrez went 5 innings, giving up 2 earned and 4 hits for the win. They were led by Camille Corona as she went 5 for 6 at the plate over the weekend, raising her average to 415. With the sweep, they now have a winning record against their conference. UTA head coach Kara Dill says they don't ride too high or too low.
I think just because we play one game at a time, we're going to give everything we have for the game that's right in front of us. I mean, it's always nice to have that confidence boost of running with a winning record, but at the end of the day, we're focused on the next pitch, the next game, and winning that one in front of us.
UTA will go on the road and face Texas A&M Commerce on Tuesday and keep going west to Phoenix for a weekend series against Grand Canyon. Alan Mencias, the Maverick Report.
Don't go away, we still have a lot more to break down and discuss, including our upcoming game recap with the Texas Outlaws.
Additionally, we discuss news around local professional sports. Stay tuned. We'll be back after these messages.
STEM is everywhere, like here, behind the scenes of The Walking Dead.
When we break down clothes, we tumble it with trisodium phosphate, rock salt, and dish detergent.
We stitched together images of our model and created a 3D set that can be walked through in a VR headset.
We're able to turn 12 walkers into 1,000 walker boards.
STEM can create new worlds on and off the screen. What will you make with STEM? Get inspired at SheCanSTEM.com.
Student athletes are at the core of every team. Now we spotlight a student athlete who is a big performer and leader in our community. This week's UTA Athlete Spotlight is right fielder Tyson Pointer, doing big things in his senior season. Through 28 games, Pointer is batting .310 with 35 hits for 15 RBIs. In Game 3 against CBU, Pointer went 2 for 5 with 2 doubles. With being the son of former MLB player Corey Pointer, Tyson has the same goal to make it to the MLB from DFW, just like his dad from Waxahachie. Let's take a break from all the questions and play a game of Pick'em. So who do you have in the Final Four, UConn or Alabama, going to the championship game? I
have UConn. UConn's got a good head coach. They got a good senior core leadership. They made it. They went there last year. They proved they can do it. Well, go ahead and get down there again and prove to everybody that you deserve to be there.
I'm going to agree with you, but I think we do need to watch out for the Crimson Tide. They're a scrappy team. We've seen them even against our conference foe there in Grand Canyon. They've been up against some tough competition. There's a reason they're there in the Final Four. They'll be playing pretty well that night as well. Who do you have advancing on the other side of the bracket there, Purdue or North Carolina State going against them?
As a Big Ten homer, I would take Purdue and Zach Edey, but Zach Edey to me just reminds me of the Purdue version of Luke Garza. I'm going to take NC State. I'm going to party like it's 1983.
I think I'm right with you there. Zach Edey he's a player that likes to draw a lot of fouls, but when it comes down to that Final Four matchup there against North Carolina State, it's going to be hard. You can't just foul your way into that game. You got to really have a good game plan together. So I'll be right with you there on that pick. So now looking at the women's bracket, we do have South Carolina also going up against North Carolina State. So where do you see this one falling down for the championship game?
I have South Carolina beating NC State to play the winner tonight of Iowa and LSU. Dawn Staley, the best coach in college basketball, she has to get one. She's a Philly girl. She's an Eagles fan. it's all the way for Don Staley.
I think you got to watch out. I'll take Caitlin Clark and the Iowa Hawkeyes. They're just a team that's so well put together. Caitlin Clark's going to be looking for revenge against Angel Reese and the LSU Tigers as well. So I think Caitlin Clark's going to find her way, make her statement before then going to the WNBA as well. So don't go away. Pro sports and predictions are up next.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
As professional sports evolves constantly, we discuss key topics around the local area. This is our Pro Sports segment. On March 24th, the rivalry between the U.S. and Mexico continued strong in the CONCACAF Nations League Cup. The U.S. earned their victory over Mexico by winning 2-0. This marks the third straight title for the U.S. in the CONCACAF National League and 7 straight wins over Mexico. What does this performance say about the U.S. national team compared to the other teams?
Well, I think it really makes the U.S. national team stand out as a group of guys who really know when to perform. They find the big moment right there against your border rival in Mexico. They come out and they win multiple matchups. You need to be that team that can really stand out when it matters the most. As the Texas Outlaws end the regular season and enter the postseason, let's take a look back at their game against the Baltimore Blast.
The Texas Outlaws defeated the Baltimore Blast with the score of 9-4. MVP of the game, Vinicius Dantas, made the difference with his 5 points contributed. The game was a fast-paced one with strong showings from the Outlaws in the first and fourth quarters. During the game, fans were also excited about the showing on the field and with the team's fan interactions all throughout the night.
The Texas Outlaws will start their playoff hunt on April 6th against the San Diego Shockers at home. To wrap up the show, we'll take a look at the matchup between LSU and Iowa.
Who do you have for the rematch of the 2023 Women's Championship between LSU and Iowa?
I'll stick with the Hawkeyes. I just think when Caitlin Clark gets on that roll where she can shoot over 30% from the three-point line, it's just going to be tough to beat.
In this example, I'll take Caitlin Clark. I know LSU's got a lot of drama behind the Kim Mulkey stuff, especially the Washington Post thing that's supposed to come out. And then I know a lot of times you don't have one player beating the team. Caitlin Clark, she's a different animal out there. So I'll take Iowa. But I still got South Carolina winning the whole thing.
And that's all we have for this edition of the Maverick Report.
Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Maverick Media Club, so you never miss a highlight again. I'm Jason.
I'm Jet. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.